I've been thinking lately about why people come in and out of jiu-jitsu gyms so much. Why so many people quit after so little time, or why many people are not interested at all in jiu-jitsu. I guess I understand more why people would not be interested at all. I got some friends that think it's really weird that some dudes would be that close in proximity and, wrestle in their own sweat. So I guess that's a big turn off for a lot of people. And, that's fair, I guess. I guess you gotta kind of have to be built special to even want to start. But like once you decide to start and give it a try, what makes you quit? Like why would you stop? And this is not a judgment. I'm just trying to observe what goes on and what I've seen in a few gyms in the last 5 years that I've been around the world of jiu-jitsu and this community. I don't think most people quit because jiu-jitsu doesn't work. At the outset, I'll say this. I think most people don't quit because, they've realized it doesn't work. Maybe some people will say that. I think they haven't stuck around long enough to be qualified to say if it works or not. So I don't think that's the real reason. To me, after 5 years, it's pretty obvious that jiu-jitsu works. I understand that what most of us are doing is sports or competition jiu-jitsu, whatever you want to call it, and it obviously has its limitations. I'm not one of those guys who believes like jiu-jitsu is the end all of martial arts. I think if you're in trouble, you should probably not go to the ground, especially if there's many people, you're surrounded in a crowd, whatever the situation. Actually, I think before even that, you should probably walk away. That's always the right answer. You don't want to be in a situation like that to begin with. But still, if you have to defend yourself, yeah, I would much rather be me 5 years, be me right now than 5 years ago. I don't think the guy that I was 5 years ago would have defended himself better than me right now. Is everything we learn in jiu-jitsu useful for self-defense? Absolutely not. But some of it, I'm sure, could be applied and could serve you well. That being said, I don't think the jiu-jitsu doesn't work thing is actually a reason why people quit. I think it has more to do with like the discomfort that martial arts in general will bring, but especially jiu-jitsu, I think. The humility that it demands, the patience that it demands. I think that's where most people will struggle. I think the expectations are sometimes not realistic when people come in jiu-jitsu gyms or academies. Some of them think they're going to be world beaters and they've never actually done a combat sport in their life. That's mostly the icy red crowd. We all know what I'm talking about. Bro, I see red. Yeah, right. But, I mean, apart from the fact that if you're like a world caliber judo or combat Muay Thai, or you come from some other discipline that has similarities with jiu-jitsu in terms of what it takes to become good, then I don't think you can have unrealistic expectations. I think that's why most people end up quitting. And like I said, it's not a judgment. It's just an observation. If you've tried jiu-jitsu and you didn't feel like it was for you, then that's fine. There's no problem with that. But I think if people would try with a state of mind where they expect, something else than to be confident really quick, to have visible progress within like a few weeks and to feel good about themselves, then maybe they would come into this and actually, persevere, because they wouldn't have those, a little bit out of touch expectations. The reality is that when you start doing jiu-jitsu, at least it was for me, I mean, I was 300 pounds when I started. I was out of shape. I couldn't move. Yeah, it felt really awkward. It it feels bad. Your joints hurt from everywhere when you wake up in the morning. Granted, I'm not 20 something anymore, so that probably doesn't help the old man. But you always feel behind. You feel like you're no good. You watch other people. You watch the professor doing the techniques, and he could show me 10 times, and in my head I thought I understood, and I go to do it, and it would be like the blank. I would see the universe, but nothing comes out. So if you don't have like real expectations coming into this journey, I think it's going to be hard for you to persevere. So if you're watching this, thinking about starting jiu-jitsu, I would strongly advise that you understand that you're going to be walking into something that is difficult, that's going to challenge you, and that's going to require some things that are not easily found in this world. You're going to be bad for a little while, and you're going to lose a lot. And you're going to have to learn to lose without feeling like a failure, because you're not a failure just because you lose. Your ego, is probably going to take a dump. And to be fair, I think the ego problem is probably why most people quit jiu-jitsu. They leave before they can ever get good, before their body can adapt, before their mindset can settle into what jiu-jitsu is, before their body can even form habits around the techniques. And I think that's what ends up happening with most new people who walk through the door and just decide it's not for them, because they came in with unrealistic expectations, and they're going out because their ego is bruised, or because their expectations were not matched. And it's kind of sad, because I think a lot of these people could be well served by persevering and learning the arts of jiu-jitsu. And I'm talking about jiu-jitsu because that's what I do and that's what I know, but I think that could probably be applied to most martial arts, whether it's boxing, Muay Thai, or MMA in general. It's just natural human habit to avoid discomfort. And I did that for years. I avoided discomfort. I was fat, obese, overweight, however you want to call it. And I didn't want to do sports, or I didn't want to do combat sports, even though I loved it. I don't know, I knew I would like it if I did it someday, but I didn't want to start because I was always thinking, I'll do it when I'm in better shape. But that moment never comes, and then you get in worse shape, and you keep thinking, I'll do it when I get into better shape. But to get in better shape, you have to start doing it. So it becomes like an endless vicious cycle that you just don't get out of unless you accept to be uncomfortable, and you just do it, and you just accept that people might at some point look at you really weird, or might think you're not good, and whatever. You just have to accept that and to break that vicious cycle. And I'm not perfect. I'm obviously I still have some weight to lose. But I've come a long way, and at least now I've found something that I don't have to force myself. If I could financially, and if I could with my time be at the gym every single night, I would. I love it that much. And although it was extremely uncomfortable for me when I started, I struggled with my body image. People would look at me, and I was absolutely terrible at jiu-jitsu itself. So it was really difficult, but I came in with a very humble state of mind because of that. And maybe that's what saved me. Maybe that's what made me persevere. I think that you have to be realistic that it's going to be a slow learn. It's not a martial art that you learn really quick. you're not going to see massive improvements for a while. And there's no shortcuts except just doing the hard work, drilling and putting in the rounds, and actually, getting crushed for a few months, if not a few years, before you actually start to click and be able to defend yourself intelligently. And you're going to have to accept that there is discomfort, and that's not a flaw. And there's slowness in learning, and that's not a failure. And there's humility required, and I would caution that humility that is required is nothing to do with humiliation. I think there's a strong difference. Nobody goes to the gym to be humiliated, but you are going to be humbled, and that's just a fact. But there's maybe bad people and bad gyms out there, but I've never been to a gym where actually people were trying to humiliate you. I think, if you are in that kind of environment, just get out, find a new gym. It's not worth staying there. But I would say jiu-jitsu isn't cruel per se, but it's hard because it's honest. It's really honest. And if you suck, you're going to get crushed for rounds and rounds and months. And most likely you're going to suck because that's where we all start. It feels like, I actually remember looking at jiu-jitsu match when I started this journey and watching those and thinking to myself, what is going on? What am I watching? What are they doing? Like, I did not understand a single thing that was going on. And it took a while for me to, for my brain just to, fix itself and understand jiu-jitsu. So I guess I'm going to close out this video with this. If you're considering starting jiu-jitsu, first of all, good job. It really takes a lot of courage to just step on the mats to begin with. If you're thinking about restarting jiu-jitsu, you've been a while, you're older, maybe you got less things to do, more time, and you want to give it another try. Or if you're just watching on the sidelines and you're just, starting to get interested by this thing, you're not too late to the game. And even though I've said you're going to have to take the humility pill, there's so many upsides. There's so many benefits to doing jiu-jitsu. It takes courage, it takes humility, and it takes time. And you're going to need those if you want to start. Those are my biggest tips that I can give anybody that is thinking about starting jiu-jitsu. Have those in mind. Don't set unreal expectations. And you'll end up in a few months, in a few years, realizing that there's very real progress. And it's like anything else in life. Doing hard things brings prizes that are actually worth it. So that's why I say, jiu-jitsu will give you so much if you have the courage to step on the mats. It's given me a better health for sure, even though I still need to work on it. It's giving me more confidence. It's giving me a passion, something I love. And I think it can do that for a lot of people. And I just think it sucks that so many people come in the gym and go out because they've either had unrealistic expectations or are not willing to humble themselves or not willing to learn. So I hope that's not your case. I hope you'll give it a real try, and maybe we'll see each other on the mat someday. I still have quite a few lessons to take from people around me. So don't give up on your journey. And if you're looking into getting into jiu-jitsu, I strongly advise you to do so. It's one of the best decisions that I've made in my life. And jiu-jitsu has given me so much back in return. Stay tuned. Thank you, guys.
Forged under pressure, worn with honor. Join the movement, subscribe, and follow Stonebelt.